going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz, it's the YWC Reality Check. We're here tonight to talk about the WWE Women's United States Championship, and that is Jake fucking DeMARCO. But before we get into the topic at hand tonight, a plug, an advertisement, a programming note, if you will. For those of you that have gone over to Jake's channel and checked out some of the live stuff that we've been doing over there the past little while, it's been a lot of fun. First and foremost, go subscribe to Jake Countdown Ended DeMARCO on YouTube. But if you're not able to do so, what I have done over the past couple of days is I've converted them to audio. I've thrown them up on my audio streams only. Spotify, iTunes, I think I'm still on Amazon, Rumble, etc. You won't find it on my YouTube channel, because if you're on YouTube, you should be on his channel. If you're out and about and on the go and whatever other metaphors I can come up with, please go check out the audios if you choose. But first and foremost, go check out Jake Countdown Ended DeMARCO on YouTube. And there's Jake fucking DeMARCO.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Great timing, great sliding. And you know what? I am, like you said, just completely overrun with all the love and support we've gotten over the last few weeks in the live shows. We've had a great deal of fun. And, you know, we wouldn't be live for every NXT, but we got some more big shows coming up.
For special stuff.
Yeah, we got some more specials happening. I guess they're even going to have another Saturday night's main event in January, right before the Rumble.
The week before the Rumble. That's a choice.
That's interesting.
But they're also doing an on-the-road NXT in December in Lowell, Massachusetts. So
yes,
depending on how they build that up, we'll do that. We'll do Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I want to attempt to go to that, but we'll see, because in Lowell there's not a bad seat, first off. And then second off,
that's nice. Yeah,
it's one of those nice arenas, like there's nowhere you can't see when you're sitting, which is always good. Sometimes hard to come
That's
by.
Good.
But
I kind of try to describe some of our venues that way as well, like the Rico, where I go for house shows, Scotiabank, where most of the Toronto shows happen. Haven't been to the Sky Dome in 23 years, but we'll see how that goes next March. But yeah, the topic at hand. We got a new belt to talk about, Jake.
Yes, we do, and you and I have gone ahead and kind of picked some of our favorites or most deserving, you know, all the above, and kind of each went ahead and picked 5. You've got 8, I've got 6, because we never kind of follow instructions directly, but
no. We'll get 10 by the end.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a nice roundabout 10 even list, and you know, I go back and forth. And I was a little more apprehensive when they unveiled the mid-card Women's United States title, because they said, oh, with parity coming abound, we're going to have, you know, the same thing on the other side.
And it hasn't happened yet.
No, it hasn't, but talks being so far that this is going to be a floating title, thus being that, like the women's tag titles, can go between the 3 brands.
See, here's the thing about that for me, right? Is I've got a really sneaking suspicion that they're going to announce that Women's Intercontinental Championship on the first Raw on Netflix. Make it one of the newsworthy things there.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that myself.
But the other thing about it is, and this is just me splitting hairs, it doesn't actually mean anything in the long run, if they were going to only do one floating title, because one's a WWE title and one's kind of a WCW title, let's be real for a second. If they were only going to do one, I wish they had done a Women's Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense.
I do. I'm one of the few people that actually likes the current design of the Intercontinental Championship. So,
you and me both. So.
A lot of people, because there's the classic traditional one that we all picture, the one that Cody brought back for a bit,
the white strap,
the one that Warrior put on a yellow strap at one point. There's the one that came after that just looked like a Tylenol pill that yes. I don't think anybody liked. But the one we have now, it's more in line. It's the same as the Raw men's tag titles. They're more in line with the world title style.
It's got that branding theming, but I think it looks great with the gold and everything, the way that it shines, and
it's not just a big WWE. Like, I really hope they do change the world titles on SmackDown at some point.
I think they will, but
because the world title that right now is on Gunther's shoulder, it's still got a WWE logo slapped in the middle of it, but it's got some ornateness to it.
Certainly.
But beggars can't be choosers, and I do think we discussed this before, but the whole idea being no, they didn't go with a new design, whatever. I do think that the designs being the same and only the belt color being changed, it does go for that equality, parity thing that is a little bit more important than what it actually looks like. The people still out there screaming that it should have been the Statue of Liberty on a belt can fuck off.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I get what they're going for, but it's a little on the nose. I don't hate it, because I think that idea is coming from a good creative place, but it's a little on the nose. I wish it had been the IC title.
You
personally,
and me both, yeah.
But it is what it is. And I think I put it out to you last time, or I might have put it out on somebody else's stream. If we're going to get one or two new singles titles on the main roster, provided the other one happens in January on Netflix, whatever it is, what it is, the tag titles, because they're a floating title, would you sort of creatively slide them over to NXT for a bit to give these new titles some focus?
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. I would like to think so. I would like to think that you would have to, because, I mean, I don't want them to get into AEW territory where it's like everybody's got a belt and nothing is special. And
no.
And that was kind of one of my original concerns with this. If they are going to introduce the IC title and this isn't going to be floating, I don't think that the belt really. I think that people from NXT can come to the main roster and try to win the women's U.S. title.
Yep.
But I don't feel like they should directly have them just right ahead go to NXT to defend it, because they have the North American title down there.
Yes.
And that feels like a even more diminished title if you have the U.S. title come down. It's like, oh, well, this is above that because that's from the main roster, and
as much as we hated the old style of Survivor Series when it was brand versus brand.
Yeah.
Right now, with the way all the shows are sitting, would be a time where I would definitely be okay with the triple threat matches.
Yeah,
like
I would too.
World title. Like right now, imagine Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, and Nia Jax. Imagine Gunther. What would it be? It would be Gunther, Trick Williams, and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
I mean, Gunther and Trick Williams, one of them's taking a loss because Cody ain't losing.
No.
But we've given the belt, like...
Although, you know what? I would pin Cody in that match. I would have Trick pin Cody.
Yeah. And I think Cody, because of Cody's association through his dad with NXT, I think he would be the first one to suggest that, honestly.
Yeah, he would fall on that sword, quote unquote.
But I think it's kind of weird that, like, oh my God, do we really need more women's titles? I would always say yes, but I think especially now, when you've got such good example, like you've got good examples with the Intercontinental Championship, with what Gunther did with it for so long, and now how it feels important being on a Braun Breaker. LA Knight carrying the men's U.S. title. Right now, he's a superstar. He's a catchphrase guy. He's a guy that everybody likes. I don't think his reign has been particularly good, but to counter that, the two guys scratching at his heels for a title shot are having a feud in their own right, and it's just to get to it. So they're building it. So it is the era, along with what Kalani Jordan has obviously proven in NXT. It is a realm and a time in WWE where we're getting, how can I say this? We're getting more respect on the mid cards and more, hey, it's not all about the guy at the top of the card or the girl at the top of the card across the board. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, and finally, like you said, we are getting that, and that's what makes it feel like, oh, hey, this is cool. We need a chance for everybody to, and that's what we've been getting. As where before, like you said, if it wasn't focused on the top contenders, the main champions, even when you think back to like before Cody left WWE and changed his booking mindset, even pre-Stardust stuff.
Yeah.
When he had that IC title, it was a big deal to him because of his dad and history and all of that. And
he got to bring back that white belt, old style, get rid of the Tylenol pill that I talked about before.
Yes, exactly. So that was a big to-do there. But all in all, it wasn't this major thing that like people were like, oh, cool, he brought the belt back. I thought that was cool, but then nothing. He barely defended it. It was forgotten about. Dean Ambrose had that U.S. title. I don't even think he ever defended it. It felt like he just was forgotten about, and that belt was
what it is, though, right? And
placeholder.
This is where I'll kind of backtrack, and this is really going to be a stick up for the ladies type of episode. Obviously, even when the mid card titles for the men didn't mean much, they still had them. The thing with the, I mean, they have the tag titles now, but the thing with the women's divisions never really having a mid-card championship was you have a whole division and you're either the world champion, best of the best, or you're nothing. Like,
Yeah.
there's no building block. There was
no stable in between.
Gunther's IC title reign was incremental, I should say, to his eventually getting the world title. Him having the world title right now wouldn't mean anything if he wasn't such a big part of resurrecting the Intercontinental Championship. And I don't know whether LA Knight's ever going to grab the world title, to be honest.
I'm not sure either, but less is more.
Yeah,
and they found a way to make it feel like, hey, guess what? Everybody's important equally. Everybody has a chance. Everybody has, something to gain from. So,
and it's not even, I don't even think it's a matter of everybody mattering. It's even if you, and I say a lot about sectioning the shows a lot, like, oh, man, I really hope my favorite wrestler gets out of the mid-card and goes to the main event, where we've talked about guys like Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, sorry to say, but I would say Damian Priest is here right now. Right now, I'd love to see Finn Balor up higher, but right now Finn Balor's in that same spot. Instead of wishing they were somewhere else, why doesn't one or two or three people pick up the flag and say, no, the mid-card matters. It's not just that guy at the top and a bunch of jobbers. And the women's division is swimming with talent and opportunity and stuff like that. But people
for a long time too, it also was that the man is not made by the belt. The belt kind of made the man. And it was like, oh, you're champion, and this will elevate you. Now it's, guess what? You've got the title. You have to elevate it. And that really came across well, like you said, with Gunther's reign.
That's a weird debate, though, I've sat back.
If you're defending the title, having good matches, you're making it worth a damn, then that's why that title is worth a damn, because you're making it worth a damn. If you don't
but
have
I think it has to be both, though, because I think you have to look up at that belt in reverence when you're seeking it out. Because if you're saying, oh, I'm going to take this thing here and make it important, then I don't believe you chasing it because you don't think it's already important. Like, it's a weird, like, I've heard people on both sides of the aisle on this one, where the title's going to make the man, okay, this guy's struggling, so we'll give him the belt and maybe that'll boost him up a little bit, or nobody really cares about this belt, so we'll put it with this really popular person. Well, why don't you tell me that the belt is important and tell me that this person is important, and then give the important person the important belt?
Yes.
Like, that should be the goal. It has to be a meet in the middle thing. I think if you go too far one way or the other, you either make the belt, you make the prop look like a prop, or you make the guy look like somebody who needed a prop to get somewhere. You got to convince me that they're coming together at the same time. Sorry, he wasn't always my favorite guy, but Cody Rhodes is the prime example of that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong at all. I just feel like for a long time titles meant nothing. They were just placeholders, and we're finally really starting to get that, hey, this is good. This is and it's more that, like I said before, the man makes a title. Kalani Jordan made the NXT North American title for the women what it is. And you
see,
can argue,
I think they've done a different.
For many people, Obafemi.
Because Obafemi took a title that already existed, so it's a slightly different conversation. With Kalani Jordan, they've sort of. Now I'm going to go back on what I just said. They've kind of done the opposite of that. It's a new person and a new title. We're going to build them together rather than they're already built and we're going to bring them together. Which, again, it's the opposite of what I was saying, but it's still true. You're building the title and the person together. You shouldn't be leaning on one to build the other. Kalani Jordan is fucking fantastic, man.
She's great. And yeah, even though Obafemi came into the belt existing already, and you had people like Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, and others elevate it in its own right, but he really elevated that belt to make it like, hey, this belt gets to main event some shows sometimes. This belt gets to go ahead and it matters.
You can't talk about the match too much these days because two of the people in the match are not really people you're not supposed to talk about anymore.
The ladder match?
But the TakeOver ladder match to establish the first ever, it is still a match I go back and watch. And I'm a very much like in the moment, what's happening right now guy. I don't go back. I was at WrestleMania 18.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go back and watch WrestleMania 18 a lot.
I usually don't either. Joe was one to go back. So was, Drew and a few others. I never really did that. I didn't go back and rewatch things very often. Like, it has to be something really, really special. That ladder match is definitely one of those things.
Or if I'm doing something like
if you
a while ago when I was doing NXT Rewind, like those were, but I was doing that with a purpose.
Yes,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? I kind of needed an excuse to watch, and well, let's be real, COVID was happening, so I needed something to feel good about.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, as you sort of already laid out here, basically what we're going to give you guys out there listening, if you've gotten through this ramble this far, we're going to try and give you 10 leading candidates to be the first ever holder of the WWE Women's United States Championship. I've got 5 with a couple extras just in case we've got a couple of similar names. Jake, I know you've got at least one alternate on your list. I know you've got some NXT people on your list, and I kind of tried to steer away from that.
Yeah, exactly. So we both got a little bit of a different mindset going on here, and that's what I'm happy about, because I really think there's a lot for us to delve in here. There's enough people, there's enough talent.
I think the front when it comes to the front runners for the title, I think we're going to come together on some similar names. But
before you say names, really quick, I do want to know this.
What's up?
How do you declare who the first champion is? Would you have a tournament? Would you have a battle royal? Would you what would Spaz do personally to kind of, set himself aside? What would you prefer? I used to be a big tournament fan myself, but I feel like those are kind of overrun lately.
I want to say a ladder match just for my own preferences, and that's how we've done things recently. But maybe a tournament that has a final that's a ladder match.
Ooh, I like that.
Because if you're establishing there's people that have made their name in ladder matches, and I'm kind of separating from that a little bit. But to me, a ladder match can only exist with a title, and for the creation of a title. Money in the Bank is a separate scenario, obviously.
Yes. But that's its brand thing of its own,
Yeah. But if there's one stipulation that surrounds itself around titles, it's a ladder match, because you're literally reaching for the goal. The metaphor becomes reality in that point. So I would say don't make it last forever. Pick 8 people, do a tournament. The final is going to be at X pay-per-view, or maybe at Saturday night's main event if we want to make that a big thing. Yeah. And on the night, you announce that it's a ladder match. You don't tell the competitors that it's a ladder match until the night. You get the announcement pop, then you get the match pop, then you get the pop for who wins.
All right, I'm in with you there.
I mean, and you can tell a million other stories, because the ladder match is obviously no DQ, so other people... Not that I want a bunch of bullshit in the first ever title holder, but I mean... If a couple of people that felt slighted throughout the tournament want to come in and fuck around and find out, a ladder match allows that, because it's a no DQ stipulation.
Yeah.
And from there it's like the Rumble. The Rumble is about a winner, but the Rumble is also about a couple of other people that didn't win having fights with each other.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna let you go first, because you're the guest.
All right. First champion. Right off the bat, ladder match. I used to say ladder matches for titles, either introductions or titles, were played out and it was overdone. Yeah. Now I feel like the tournament thing has really been killed into the ground. So I would do the Iron Survivor match personally. If you were going to do it in NXT, I think that's a great match to introduce something into. But
see, I love the Iron Survivor. Because this is a main roster title.
Yeah,
and
that's the problem.
And NXT has already lost War Games to the main roster. I really want them to have something that's just theirs. Awesome idea. Don't get me wrong.
No,
some other similar type of gauntlet, 5-person scramble, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely. I don't hate the idea, but I hate NXT losing another gimmick that was really theirs.
Yeah, something that they made work. So my first pick, randomly enough, someone that I've never been crazy high on myself, but when I was thinking about prestige, class, you really want to sell this belt and make it be bigger than anything. Who's the first person you have win it? Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair, returning Charlotte Flair, comes back that night to win the women's, and she's not going to hold it for long, obviously. It's strictly going to be a, few-month thing just to get the belt going. But I think her as the inaugural champion, especially since she's, 32-time women's champ or whatever it is that they've counted to, you know. I think she's like 14 or 12. She's up there.
She's close to her dad. We know that much.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's definitely got herself up there, and I think that would be a great accolade to add to her overall, you know, badass list.
Nice. I'll tell you why I like that, for two reasons. Number one, you've got the sarcastic fans out there that are like, oh my god, Charlotte's back, she's gonna ruin everything.
Yeah.
Right now they're doing it to Rhea, which is fucking retarded.
Ridiculous.
But in kind of a backwards way, what you're doing by putting a mid-card title on Charlotte is you're keeping her away from the main title for a bit.
Exactly.
And I think that will appease. As a creative decision, I think that's cool. As a keep the pitchforks and torches from your door decision, it's also kind of a good idea.
See, you nailed it. That was one of my main reasons, because people are going to say, well, where should Charlotte be? She's not going to be just floating around having, you know, meaningless feuds. She should be going for the main belt, obviously, but not everybody wants to see her again be the main women's champion, especially when they're working on giving other people a chance finally. So let's go ahead and make this something, you know, big and crazy. I think that's the way to do it.
The other half that I like about that is, I think intentionally you make her first legitimate challenger somebody who's not, I don't want to say people are high or low, but like somebody who's seen as lower on the card to be your second champion. Because then you kind of have the John Cena effect of, not only did I just win this championship, but I won it from this person. You know, if anybody ever beat John Cena in the Cena wins LOL days, the title was more a symbol of, hey, they actually let me beat John Cena. If you got, okay, she's not on my list, so I'm just going to use her as an example, like Katana Chance.
Yes.
If she broke out of her tag team, which I'm not advocating for, but nobody is really going to say that she is or is positioned to be on the same level as Charlotte Flair.
Exactly.
Now, Katana Chance would be an amazing women's United States champion. I think she's a great thing, and I didn't think of her until just now. I wish I put her on the list. But if she gets to go around with that United States championship as the second title holder and say, oh, by the way, you know who I beat for this? Charlotte Flair.
Yeah,
that's where Charlotte's input is right now. That, as Katana Chance beating her and being able to say that is Charlotte Flair's contribution. But then you'd have to have a long Charlotte Flair reign, and people would bitch about that because, you know, stuff.
I mean, I don't think it has to be too long, but yeah, certainly you could work something out of it. Yeah. And I really think that she would be a great first champion.
All right.
How about your first pick, Sir Spaz?
Mine's a bit obvious because I think people are saying it pretty much everywhere. She's a lot of fun. She's also kind of in a tag team right now, but kind of a character all on her own. Might be getting a bit messy soon. I got Chelsea Green.
Yeah, that was one I had on my list as well. I figured you would have her there because she deserves it. I'm sorry, that's one of those things that just like the girl deserves it. She busted her ass, and it's not.
I always
one of
love
those...
when she, and I know we're trying to distance it from NXT, but I always love when she comes down to NXT because I feel like when she's on NXT, the fans recognize her a little bit more. Like if she's on the main roster, she's a very good comedy character. She's a very good, oh my god, I'm a dickhead and I just got my ass kicked and I got chucked in a bin.
Yeah.
She's very good at that sort of like slapstick.
But they're paying attention to her.
Go out there, put down the city. Somebody from that city comes and kicks her. Like she's very good in that role, but she's great in the ring.
And I don't think it gets acknowledged. More.
And I mean, because she's doing so much of the comedy stuff, I don't think what she does in the ring is acknowledged as much because she's so. You and I have said this very recently quite a bit about Tony D'Angelo.
Yes.
On NXT, where he's such a character every time he's in the ring. He's fighting to be seen as more than just a character. I think you could. I don't think she's fighting it as much because she's on the main roster already. But I think Chelsea Green very much the same.
Yeah. We were hoping her and Pipen won the tag titles recently. Yep. You know, at the Crown Jewel thing, and I think there's a lot they can do with both of that, you know, both angles of that, because you got Chelsea on the main roster, but she can also come down to NXT. She can work with people. She can fight with people. You know, there's just a great upside to her.
And there's something to be said
that she can do.
There's something to be said for who they choose from the main roster to go down and work with NXT, because no, not everybody in NXT is developmental, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, and a lot of them are learning, and that's the point of them being there.
No, but you can't just throw any other main roster person down there with them, because they have to be somebody who's able but also has a teaching element to them. You know,
and honestly,
that's why
Chelsea.
That's why we signed people like Stephanie Vacour and Julia and blah 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 blah.
Yes.
I think she'd be a lot of fun. I think she'd be very Miz with the belt, like brandishing it all over the place, finding some really obnoxious way to carry it to the ring. Or does Piper Niven become her Paul Heyman and walk behind her like CM Punk holding up the belt so that she's not even touching it? You can do all kinds of stuff between the two of them. Do you use that title to break up their tag team, and then you've got Piper Niven monstering her for the belt, and then Piper Niven's the champion for a while? You got a lot of venues. You got a Swiss Army knife as far as a talent and what she can do and what storylines can come out of that. So my first pick is Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green, yeah, I'm all for it. It's a great pick, and I think that's certainly the way to go. Going down my list, believe it or not, I have someone similar to your Chelsea for my number 2.
Who's that?
And that would be Dakota Kai.
I also have Dakota Kai, so I'm going to be using one of my alternates later.
All right, I figured you would as well, but again...
Just came back?
Yeah, just returned on Raw. This would be a huge return statement for her, especially because she's been marred with so many injuries for so long now. She's been absolutely just... I don't want to say held back, but essentially, I mean, that's what it's been. Every time she gets that hot feud going or this great moment, like her and Tegan had all this going, and the knee gets injured. And then her knee gets... I mean, how many surgeries has she had in her knee now? 3? And her ankle, and so it's been just very unlucky.
And the thing about that, too, is as unfortunate as it is, you kind of have to look at that as a reason that they might have kind of wiped her off the board as somebody that can be like a main champion.
Yeah. So like, this would be a chance
you hate
for
to
her
talk
to prove
about it
herself.
like that. Yeah, for sure. From a story perspective, again, I like the Damage Control group. I always have in its various combinations, but eventually everybody's going to have to say, look at Damage Control and say one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
her and I mean, Asuka's going to come back at some point, and it's going to be a thing. Like, they've changed the music and such and such. But yeah, Dakota Kai as a single star, as a breakout singles star. Dakota Kai was one half of our favorite takeover match before COVID. Remember the street fight with her and Tegan Nox, where unfortunately
one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. That's one I've actually gone back to rewatch.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where like it shouldn't have succeeded, really, because it wasn't the title match. It was the second women's match on the card. It was just going to be a street fight. It's WWE. We know what to expect from a street fight. And then it was great. And, I mean, they introduced Raquel at the end, which I don't think was necessarily necessary. Yes, I said that.
Yeah.
But...
No, it wasn't necessary.
They
didn't need
it was
that,
the match, because we were previewing takeovers at the time, and I think this is the one we're looking the most forward to, isn't it? Yeah. And then coming out of that show, and I mean, it sort of cements itself in your head when you realize that it was the last real takeover before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, they stole the show, and neither one, I mean, unfortunately, Tegan Nox is gone again now.
Yeah.
But they stole the show, and they could do it again, but she's like...
But they did it while telling a story, and they didn't need a shit ton of plunder to do it. They didn't have to go to Home Depot and fill everything up with goddamn tacks, razor wire, and glass. You know?
My God, the story from the NXT War Games,
the betrayal,
where she knocks her out in the cage, and that was the same. Wasn't that was the same year that War Games and then Survivor Series the next night was the Survivor Series that had all the NXT people in it?
Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah, because Rhea Ripley was like 2-on-4. It was her and somebody else.
It was her and Candice LeRae.
Yep, that's right.
Because it was supposed to be, who was it? It was Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Michin, Rhea Ripley, and Candice LeRae. How the hell did I pull that off?
I don't know, but damn.
Because they sort of rejigged the teams and threw in Toni Storm and somebody else for the NXT Survivor Series match the next night.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it was low-key a very, very big part of a weekend that was huge for NXT. And then they went on and had a singles match that was sort of I mean, they had more takeovers during the pandemic, but it was the last hurrah for what a real takeover looked like.
Fans, not.
And you know, I don't want to loop back around to like depressing shit, but like how have her and Tegan Nox is gone again? Like, fuck that. First of all, her and Indy Hartwell would be on my list if they were still in the company. I mean, Baron Corbin will be fine. He's doing all right. He's got the Corbin Club merch already.
Oh, does he?
But yeah, it's a Bullet Club, but it's done up with like motorcycles.
Yeah,
and stuff.
That's funny. Hey, good for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully Nixon Newell. She's been very adamant that she's Nixon Newell again. But her and Dakota Kai were doing great guns in the mid card of an NXT that didn't even have a mid card at the time. So yeah, Dakota Kai, fantastic. Nothing really else to say other than I don't think we've ever on the main roster seen what she can do because injuries and such. But even when she wasn't injured, she was playing second fiddle to Io Sky, second fiddle to Bayley when Bayley was still in the group, second fiddle to, you know, XYZ person, or she might get a match because somebody needs a tag team partner. Like, she's been on the periphery since she came up from the main roster. And when you consider how she was reintroduced when Bayley brought out her and Io Sky as a big surprise at that SummerSlam when Triple H was making a whole lot of creative statements.
A lot of statements, yeah.
Like,
guess what?
This one's fallen flat. Partially because of injury, nobody can help that, but the other part is stuff you can help and just make her feel like a big deal. Do it. Just do it.
Yeah, they've done it for some people, but they haven't for other, you know, oddly enough, where they make some people feel like a huge deal and then other people not so much. And it's not saying that, you know, hey, yeah, you deserve it, you don't, things like that, but it certainly isn't as straightforward as it was with Vince, where like he just loves you or hates you. There's a lot of nuance with what Triple H's booking does, because at times you're like, well, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And then next week you see it all play out, and you're like, oh, for this story, that story. So usually he has things pretty well planned. That's why I feel like Dakota Kai would be a great choice here. I'm not sure. Let's see who your number 2 pick is, Spaz.
Okay, before I get into my next pick, I'm going to get into who was almost in this spot.
Okay.
And because, I mean, you don't want to just bring somebody back, typically, who's been away for a long time and, like, gift wrap them a title.
Yeah.
But
but sometimes that's a good surprise. It's a good argument.
I'd make an exception for Alexa Bliss.
Ooh, that's a great one that I didn't even consider. She is one. She was
so out of the conversation. Now, ultimately, I sort of bumped her out of my list because I made the decision that I'm going to pick people that we're currently dealing with. Alexa Bliss gets a sort of an honorable mention from me just because I'd like to see her back doing anything. I don't care if she comes back to be the mean girl. I don't care if she comes back to be the smiley baby face. I don't care if she comes back and does stuff with the Wyatt Six if that's what she wants to do. I just want to see her back on my screen because she's hella underrated, and this is what a mid-card title should address, if nothing else. Now, mid-card title. So my actual number 2 pick now. A mid-card title can elevate somebody who's never had a title before. On the rare occasion, it can take a former champion and remind you, hey, just because they're not champion anymore doesn't mean they've fallen off the wagon, so to speak.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go with somebody who I think is going to lose their championship by the end of 2024.
Ooh.
And somebody who has, in my opinion, sort of stolen the year and kind of been in the shadow of Rhea Ripley a little bit, and that's Liv Morgan.
Okay. Yeah, because once you get her, like you said, away from the world title, which will happen sooner than later, I'm sure, what is she to do? And this could be a great thing for her to get back in that main event, quote unquote, TV main event scene, and to still be able to go ahead and mean something to the title and have the title mean something to her. I think that'd be great.
Well, there's a couple of reasons with this one as well. The Judgment Day stuff is awesome and I like it, but it hasn't helped her title run. Her title run has been all about being part of Judgment Day because of how she got it. Her title run has been about, okay, I stole everything from Ripley, I stole her group, I stole her man, I stole her belt. Like, it was just something that got ticked off a list. And kind of like what we talked about with the men's tag team titles as well. Her having the title has been just a part of the group succeeding in general.
Yeah.
I do want to see her with the world title again as an individual and have a title run that's about the title. But I think dipping down and taking a relatively new title like the U.S. title is going to be and really making it hers and seeing what she can do in the process of helping create a title rather than taking it from Rhea Ripley in a way that, okay, she's eventually going to come back and kill me.
Exactly.
Like, it feels like a foregone conclusion that she's going to lose it eventually. Put it on her and have her fight the mid-card, and she'll feel like the big fish in the small pond, with all due respect to everybody else, just because she's been at that higher echelon. And I think the experience of her being in that higher echelon will help and sort of rub a little bit of stardust on whoever she... Like, if she goes and gets the U.S. championship and has a feud over the U.S. title with Lyra Valkyria.
Yes.
Or somebody other, or Kairi Sane in a singles type feud. There's that. There's also the element that I think the top of the card is going to get crowded again, because we've got Ripley coming back from injury, we've got Charlotte who will be back eventually, we've got Asuka who will be back eventually, we've got Becky Lynch, who I'm pretty sure is coming back. I'm going on that assumption right now until we hear otherwise. There's the wild rumors out there about AJ Lee possibly having a quick run as well, and I mean, she'll be featured pretty prominently for obvious reasons. Yeah. So when that swarm comes in at the top, kind of like what's happening in NXT right now, I do think she'll be bumped down a little bit, because I'm sorry, I love Liv Morgan, but she's not Becky Lynch, she's not Charlotte Flair, she's not Asuka.
No.
And I don't want it to be you're on the top of the pile or you're nothing, because I don't think she's going to be on the top of the pile. I think this keeps her in conversation, because I think she genuinely deserves it. I think the first time they threw the title on her, when there was that weird fluke thing that she had with Ronda Rousey,
yeah,
they played her off as somebody that wasn't ready for it, but I think there was also a bit of truth to it as well. And I'm trying to say that respectfully, obviously.
There was an air of truth there. No, there really was, because it wasn't quite where she should have been in that time, and we knew that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
But yeah, so Liv, because I think she can help. I think she can help the middle, and I think she's going to be bumped from the top. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Liv Morgan, my second choice.
I am all about that for your second choice, absolutely. You know, and here's the thing, like you said, she would be a perfect fit for that middle of the line, middle of the road scenario. Now, to go into my next choice, it's a little bit of... It's from NXT. So she is brand new, and it's Stephanie Vaquera. Okay. I'm choosing her because she doesn't have as much of the pedigree, or I don't want to say experience, but time. She's been wrestling for a long time, but Julia has been at least in the main event of whatever indie fed or other organization she's been a part of. She was, at the very, very tippy top of stardom for years, even to the point where, even when Julia wasn't the women's champion, the tag team match she had, a la, Roman and, Cody Rhodes, it was that kind of idea for Julia.
Oh, she didn't need the title to be at the top of the card.
Yes, they were the main event in the tag title match, and it was like, that never happened before. Like, she was able to elevate herself to the top of the card. Titles be damned, Julia was just the it thing, in New Japan and Stardom and pretty much everywhere she went. So Stephanie is excellent, and she is a former multi-time women's champion in different divisions. But here's the thing. Because she doesn't have the same pedigree and allure that Julia does, I think Stephanie would benefit more from the mid-card title, as where Julia, I would send her right after the NXT women's title. So this would give Stephanie something to do, because eventually they're going to tell this story of, hey, me versus you. It's going to happen soon. Yep. They're doing it as allies, but I think eventually we'll get one of them to turn. I think it'll be Stephanie, honestly, at first.
So you think Julia's going to go for the NXT main title, and you think Stephanie comes up and goes for the U.S. title?
Mm-hmm.
You could have a very and this would start a tribal thing among the wrestling fans, but you could have a very cool conversation in the story there of what is seen as a bigger deal, being at the top of NXT or in the middle of the main roster. You could play a very cool story there, and because I don't think there's a right answer to that question either. But like, if Trick Williams came up to SmackDown for a night, he'd be carrying the NXT Championship. But if he was standing next to Cody Rhodes, the NXT Championship would look like a mid-card title. It would look like, on the night, if you had, how do I want to say this? If you had Cody Rhodes, Trick Williams, and LA Knight in the ring at the same time, the ranking of champions would be Cody, Trick, LA,
yeah,
and then Oba, if Oba was there as well. Like, I don't know. It would be a very cool dynamic because she could say, hey, I went to the main roster before you, and I've already got a main roster title. And then Julia could come in and say, yeah, but it's a main roster mid-card title. I'm running my division. You're in the middle of yours.
Yeah, and that's how you
could
get
do a
them
very
to...
cool thing, because not everybody that watches WWE watches NXT. So the WWE only fans, would be saying, hey, it's a main roster title. Of course it's bigger. And the NXT fans would be like, nah, fuck you. This is where women's wrestling lives.
Exactly.
And Julia's at the top of it. You could start a very cool story there, man. I like that. I want to see more of Stephanie. As you know, her and Zarya and Julia all three of them are new to me, which is where I like to be as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
But I like what I see so far, her presentation and her presence and her in-ring stuff.
The three of them debuted pretty much essentially at the same time, too. And they each have their own strengths and weaknesses, which is something that I really, really like. And they've all been presented in their own way.
I like them being presented as a tag team initially. And you mentioned them all being introduced at the same time. You got to remember, they're being introduced at the same time as they already have a pretty kick-ass women's champion in Roxanne Perez.
A great roster.
As we already have our favorites in NXT, and as we've been borrowing a couple ladies here and there from TNA as well. So it's not exactly the easiest time to be trying to come in and plant your flag. So if you plant your flag in NXT, the most... Not storyline wise, but as far as time and recognition and who's outshining who, the most competitive women's division in wrestling right now is in NXT.
Oh, absolutely.
And if she goes up
in my mind.
If she goes up to the main roster, she can kind of leave the NXT roster behind, being like, if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere.
Exactly.
That's the upside of NXT being such a female forward roster show, really, at the moment.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
All right, I gotta go to one of my alternates now because you stole Dakota Kai from me, which doesn't sound right at all. So instead, I am gonna once again break up a tag team, but this one is not sad. It's not unfortunate. It doesn't upset me in the slightest, because I'm going to save this poor girl from the clutches of Bianca Belair. I'm saying you put that title on Jade Cargill, and you definitely play up the whole, I know what it's like to introduce a mid-card title that didn't exist yesterday.
Yeah.
Jade Cargill's awesome. I didn't recognize it when she was in AEW for obvious reasons. They put a belt on her, and they basically Rybacked her. They basically Goldberged her.
Yeah, the entire time. I mean, she did nothing.
There's
for the longest time.
There's so many people that I want to see her go after and either butt heads with or completely destroy. I hate that I'm using Katana Chance as an example again, but just because she's so fucking tiny. Her or Zelina Vega. Cargill, like, just chucking them around like an empty tracksuit, tossing them in the fifth row.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, and this is where I say once again, you stand up for your divisions. Jade Cargill takes that mid-card title, and again, this is where they kind of fail in AEW because they put it on Trash Skanks, but where you say, yeah, it's a mid-card title, but the mid-card title is just as important, and she walks right up to world champion Rhea Ripley. She walks right up to world champion Nia Jax, headbutts them, and says, no, how about I make my title the best title? She can do that, and then she can sit in the mid-card and rule it for a while.
And just own it.
She could be their Braun Breaker.
Yeah, and they could do it right this time, because you're absolutely right, because she was greener than grass and greener than sick dog shit at that point in AEW.
And she admitted
She absolutely, totally agreed. She came out in my probably favorite moment of AEW. Like the review we had of that afterwards, I died laughing because who said it was open mic night, bitch? Because I despise Brandy, and she cut the promo of a lifetime on Jade that night. Like that stands out in my memory.
They debuted her teaming with Shaq for reasons
to take on not even, his wife. Brandy was out at that point, so you're like, okay, that's not happening. So you're putting in Red Velvet, and then from there you just had the most ridiculous feuds and, like as you said, Goldberg matches. She would hit the two moves, her little finish, and that was it. 1, 2, 3.
And they did it so backwards. They introduced her as the mid-card champion, and then they shucked her off onto, what was it, Rampage? Did they even have Collision when she was there? No, right?
No, she was on Rampage.
She was on Rampage, right?
Now, because they knew her matches were shit at that point, so they wanted to advertise, but they didn't stick with it.
And it's different than WWE, and I'm not saying AEW should be like, they should be something, but they shouldn't be like WWE. They should be the alternative Raw. But imagine if we didn't have two rosters on Raw and SmackDown. Imagine if SmackDown was taped after Raw and all you had was mid-card titles over there. If you put mid-card titles over on one show, what you're telling people is the mid-card titles don't matter because we're putting the mid-card titles on the show that doesn't matter. How do we know the show doesn't matter? Because we only defend mid-card titles on that show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
It's maddening. And it's like one of those, sure, you like them as soon as they come to WWE. Well, she's shining in WWE.
Yeah.
And the credit doesn't go to WWE. It's like the Cody thing. The credit for Cody doesn't necessarily go to Cody. It goes to them. But you got to shave off a fraction of the credit to give it to the company that knows how to let them shine. Cody doesn't shine because of WWE.
Yes.
Jade Cargill doesn't shine because of WWE. CM Punk doesn't shine because of WWE or AEW. But they know well enough and give them enough to do the shining on their own. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
And I mean, she was very, very effusive with her praise of their developmental system. She spent a lot of time in the PC. I think she worked with a lot of the trainers down in NXT, even though she's never... Well, she has now, but at the time she didn't do any actual performing on NXT. Jade Cargill's a monster. And you could get rid of that, like, we're going to put the title on, as I say, Chelsea Green, Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai, all these little girls that are not as big as the Jade Cargills and the Rhea Ripleys and the Bianca Belairs, etc. Like, you could shatter that as well. And again, I'm going to go back to the example you gave of Charlotte. If we present Jade Cargill in the right way, then whoever beats her for that title eventually gets to be the Giant Slayer.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
that's all I got for Cargill. I really just want her to have a singles run, and if the belt is the way to do it, then let's do it.
I was lucky enough to see her in her SmackDown debut when she came out that first night, and I mean, she had such a great entrance, such an aura about her, that allure. She looks absolutely stunning. She's gorgeous, but she's also just a brick shithouse of muscle.
Oh, yeah.
She's incredible. She's just stacked to the gills. But they've done a great job at making her look more impressive, and they've been working with her in ring, and it shows.
And you know what?
She's gotten the mannerisms down too now that she
because
was missing before.
and I'm using this term loosely, but like with a giant, the best, smartest thing you can do is know that they don't have to do a lot. Do a few things, do them really well, do them spectacularly, and you've got a superstar. Like,
exactly.
Nobody's accusing Jade Cargill of giving you 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 5 stars in the Sky Dome in March. But anyways, but I think they know exactly what she is. She knows exactly where she is right now. She plays to exactly that. And she's stuck in a tag team with Bianca Belair, who they're always going to make look a little bit shinier than her, which is kind of shit. With the tag team division, which, although it's getting much better, and it's getting a lot more focus, it's still, like, shared credit.
Yes.
So, and Bianca Belair could get off my TV for 5 minutes. It wouldn't kill her.
No.
I'm just saying.
She, like I said, it's unfortunate because she is damn good in the ring, but she's been the same smiling skipping person the entire time, and nothing's changed, and the attitude, her commentary, all of it just bothers me.
I couldn't possibly turn heel because there's so many little girls out there depending on me. Fuck off.
I mean, realistically, she doesn't even have to turn heel. Just act like a normal human. When you lose your title, don't come out skipping and smiling. Show that something affects you.
But here's the thing, though. Here's what I'll give it. Bianca Belair, I'm sure if they tried it, if they just took a stab at it, I bet she could be a great heel. But
I'm sure she could be.
But when that team splits up, they're going to make Jade Cargill heel because she's been so vocal about not wanting to go heel.
Absolutely.
Because of, t-shirt sales and little kid headbands and shit. Anyways, this is not a referendum on Bianca Belair. But I want to get Cargill away because they paired her with Bianca Belair, who is very good in the ring and was a good person to pair her with, and then they did the trio at WrestleMania for obvious reasons that we don't need to talk about. But, if you leave it like that for too long, then what you're telling us is that you think Jade Cargill still needs training wheels. And I don't believe that she still needs training wheels.
Yeah, I don't either. And
if she does, and as much as we're excited about this new title, it is a mid-card title.
Absolutely.
If somebody has a bad run, you retcon it. You have them lose in 3 weeks, and you tell a story of their downward spiral, and they go away, and they go back to the PC for a month or so, and things come back. It's not the biggest platform, which is why it's the platform you can experiment with. It's NXT in a smaller form. There's not as much pressure. You don't have the same. Whoever wins this title is not going to have the same pressure that a Charlotte or a Rhea or a Nia or a Becky Lynch or an Asuka or a Bianca Belair, to her credit, would have on them holding the main title.
Yeah. See, now, like I said before, Charlotte's more of a title collector, a belt collector, someone that does these things. So I could see that mattering to her. One of the people I was considering before was kind of Becky Lynch, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, it doesn't really feel like that's the way to go, because Becky, it seems beneath her in a sense.
Because here's the thing.
As where Charlotte would want to be a new champion, it feels like Becky would just be...
Becky Lynch, but I think Becky... We got a snapshot of what Becky Lynch would look like with the United States Championship when she went down to NXT and won the title there.
Yeah.
Because she brought it to Raw, and she defended it on Raw. So it was kind of... I thought it was really cool because it was something cool for her to go back and get because she never had it. I mean, she was in there at the same time as Sasha Banks, so we don't need to talk about it. But so that was something to sort of round out her accomplishments. So, first of all, happy for her. Second of all, happy for NXT to have her down there as, we can advertise, hey, this week on NXT, Becky Lynch is going to be wrestling. But also, her bringing the belt up was getting more eyes on NXT in that way, much the same as Charlotte winning the Royal Rumble and choosing to go after the NXT Championship at WrestleMania, even though that happened in front of nobody.
Exactly, yes.
But but the intent was there, is what I mean.
And Bianca, she had good matches at Mania, back and forth with several of them and whatnot, but
and
I don't know.
Got to be the main event for obvious reasons. Moving on.
So
moving swiftly on. Go on.
Not choosing Becky.
No.
I kind of hem and hawed here because there was a few people that I said who would really benefit from the belt. Not just put the belt over, but also would help them kind of, maybe not be a full reinvention, but something that would be beneficial. And I kept going back to one person, and that's Bayley.
There we go.
I really feel
not somebody I had on my list, but somebody I thought you might have on yours.
Yeah, and I kind of think we both had a few thoughts of who each other would consider, and that's really, one of the top ones that often gets thrown to the wayside. You just made a great point too. You spoke about if they don't have a great title run, you can kind of reset, and she didn't have a great run with the main belt. She got it at Mania, and then Nia took it, and it's just kind of been Bayley non-existent or floating for a long time. And it's been more about Tiffany, Nia, and everybody else. Then you added in Liv Morgan, you added in, quite a few others. So it just, Bayley really felt like a true afterthought for quite some time. So that was unfortunate. And then besides being an afterthought, she also went ahead and changed her character quite a few times without any real justification as to why she went fully face. It was just like, oh, I'm going to go against Damage Control because they don't want me to be, that kind of thing. But it didn't really have like
she
this...
turned heel on the heels, which makes her a babyface.
Yeah, you nailed that exactly. So it was like, all right, now what? So it wasn't a great feeling, and a lot of times I was hoping for more with them to do with Bayley. So with this, I feel like not only do you have her kind of, be on the hunt to win a title, so you have her, start off, oh my God, I don't know if I still have it kind of attitude, and you get your good Rocky story out of it. There's a bunch of ways. You don't have to go so cliche, but at least to build Bayley back up and have her be a top star again, I think would be extremely beneficial. And she's one you can use as a face or a heel. She's proved herself both ways. You can actually have her win the title as a face and then become heel with the belt because of the belt.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of ways to do things here. So,
and it's funny how what we hear about people backstage affects our view of what they're doing on TV and whatnot. That's always a thing. The thin line between kayfabe and shoot. But like everything you hear from Bayley, from anybody, it's like, oh, she helped me with this, she helped me with that. I was really struggling with this. She took the extra time with this. Like, she's very, very much a giving person from what you hear.
Yeah.
So I can see Bayley taking her, because everybody, I don't want to say everybody because it's never really everybody, but like for the most part, you want to think of her as everybody loves Bayley. Like, she might not be doing good shit right now, but everybody loves her in general, right? I could see her taking that cachet and using the United States Championship to sort of say, kind of like what John Cena did when he did the John Cena Open Challenges with the men's U.S. title.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Basically taking a look at the middle of the roster and being like, okay, give me the U.S. title. I think I can work with her. 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 There will be my first 3 or 4 defenses, and just...
And right off the bat, you're
reaching down and helping the mid-card, which I'm sure she does anyway, but sort of using that United States Championship as a tool to, like, whatever you call Bayley's star power.
Yeah,
you're using the title as a beacon to sort of focus that star power on whoever she's in the ring. Prime example, NXT World Champion Kevin Owens coming out and answering the U.S. Open Challenge with John Cena.
With Cena, yeah.
Like,
that would be insanely good.
Just handpick a couple of people, and let it run. And like I say, even when she's a heel, you can still see Bayley like looking around, seeing who she's working with, kind of. Even after the matches that she had with Damage Control when they broke up, like, who won, who lost, whatever, and she's always kind of at the side of the ring, kind of smirking, kind of smiling, and like genuinely wants to do it for the roster.
Yes.
Like you're getting a title run out of it. You're getting another notch on your resume out of it. But really, like I say, it's a tool of the trade. You're using it to put your main roster your main roster character focus on that mid card, on these people that may necessarily be on the outskirts of everything. Somebody like I don't know, if she interrupts Pure Fusion Collective and she points out Zoe Stark, saying, "Hey, I saw you working with Trish Stratus not that long ago. Do you know how long Trish Stratus was my hero? Did you not take anything from working with her? Why are you hanging out with these wingnuts? Why don't you hop in the ring with me next week and see if you can get your own accomplishment?"
Exactly.
I like Bayley as a thing. I stayed away of, obviously, as you can tell, I stayed away for the most part of the main event people, because it kind of goes against what a mid-card title is supposed to be. But sometimes somebody holding that mid-card title, like I say, John Cena is the prime. We make fun of John Cena a lot, but John Cena holding the U.S. and ironically, this is another U.S. title. But can you imagine the Bayley Hugger Open Challenge?
Oh, I know. There's so many things that they could, ding dong, hello. I'm all for it.
She's on SmackDown right now, right?
Yes.
If Bayley goes out there right now and has an open challenge, she could have an answer from somebody else on SmackDown. She could have an answer from Raw. She could have an answer from NXT.
Yeah.
She could have an answer from TNA. Depending on how well the programs go, she could have an answer from somebody in the Performance Center. She could have an answer from some rando in the NIL system.
Exactly.
She can have an answer from...
A legend can come back.
A legend can come back, but I'm thinking, like...
She has so many possibilities that isn't the main roster.
I'll be selfish for a second. If the WWE ID program included Destiny Wrestling, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list, it's fine. Theoretically, there's a straight line that you could draw to Bayley having an open challenge on SmackDown that's answered by Alexia Nicole.
Absolutely.
Because she's a superstar in Destiny, and Destiny's part of the WWE ID program, and the WWE ID program gets you to the PC, gets you to NXT, and by God, eventually gets you to SmackDown.
Yeah.
Hey,
and that's what they want to show. Hey, look,
kid,
she was a champion here.
You've got a shot tonight. You're not going to win, but maybe in a couple of years when you go through all the steps, we can do this again.
Yeah.
And Alexia Nicole's another one that's tiny that can be chucked around by Jade Cargill as well.
Right. Just get her ass thrown out around the ring.
Yeah. I think of Bayley in all the negative ways that we used to say, oh my God, Bayley's going to be the next John Cena.
Yeah.
Bayley legitimately could be the next John Cena.
In the best of ways.
In the best of ways. Well, we see John Cena in a better light these days as well.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe grow the side ponytail out again. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Because NXT Bayley is one of my favorites.
I've got your NXT long-term storytelling perfection.
Ooh, do share.
Think back to the first feud on NXT between Bayley and Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Think back to the Iron Woman match.
Mm-hmm.
Think to who was sitting at ringside.
Ooh.
Bayley goes out there for an open challenge on SmackDown, and it gets answered by Izzy Moreno.
Yeah. Of all
that
you know
would
she's
be
training.
Fucking awesome. She's wrestling.
Yeah. So
she's got titles
like...
and shit.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that. I knew she was like
I see shit every now and then
but...
because everybody still looks at her as like the Bayley fan.
Yeah.
Can you believe the Bayley fan has a belt of her own and all this kind of like that's good shit, man.
Yeah, no
like
kidding.
that's the
crazy.
kind of okay because and it can only happen right now because WWE's in the position that it's in right now. WWE's hot, and when you're hot, you can do anything. Just ask women. I'm an asshole.
Some of the women.
I'm an asshole. But no,
the other ones are stuck to be divas, you know?
That moment is something WWE could create in 2024 and 2025. Tune into Netflix and watch SmackDown if you're not living in the States.
Yeah, because I didn't even think about Izzy and you know how Sasha was making her cry and all that stuff, and it's like, oh my God, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was thinking like literally anything, and she's doing indie stuff. So if she's working for an indie that's part of the WWE ID program, like there's a generational story you can tell there, and wrestling is awesome when it does awesome shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a tangent a little bit. That was you.
Yeah,
that was you
picking
picking Bayley,
my fourth
right?
pick. My fourth pick as Bayley, absolutely.
Okay.
Charlotte, Dakota, Stephanie, Bayley. What's your fourth?
I've got
Spaz?
Chelsea, Liv Morgan, with an honorable mention to Alexa Bliss.
Yes.
I did Jade Cargill because you took Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got to talk once again. People make the belts sometimes, right?
Yes.
Bret Hart wins the belt, you're going to have a lot of technical matches. Braun Breaker has the belt right now. You got a lot of big guys queuing up for him. You got big, meaty men slapping man-meat matches. If you throw the tag team title belts on a team like Frazier and Axiom, you're going to have a lot of high-flying matches, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What if I want to make the Women's United States Championship a little bit more of a brawling belt?
Ooh.
A little bit more of a hardcore belt, and somebody who's sort of carving out a little niche for themselves in various stipulation type matches.
With a dumpster?
No, not with a dumpster.
No?
Not with a dumpster.
Ooh.
Mia Yim.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Mia Yim, the
dumpster
match.
Dumpster, I thought Chelsea because she was in the dumpster. But yeah, Mia Yim, both on SmackDown and on NXT right now, has been showing herself. She's been in some of the War Games matches. She's been on ladder matches in NXT where she like fucked up her face. She's not scared. Her and Jada Parker down in NXT are both kind of on this path right now where they're showing themselves to be, yeah, you know what? I'll have a match, but if you throw me in a fucked up situation, I'm going to make that fucked up situation work.
Yeah.
Just have her come out, like really accentuate that, come out in like the, ripped jeans and a t-shirt, backwards hat, whatever you want to say, like look like she just walked into the building off the street with the belt over her shoulder and said, "Who the fuck am I fighting tonight?"
Yeah. And
they haven't really ever found an identity for her. She's been so loosely and then Farley and then loosely and then Farley associated with AJ Styles and the Good Brothers and all that kind of thing.
OC.
When they were establishing the women's North American champion, she wanted to get involved in that ladder match as well.
Did she go back down to NXT in the last,
She did.
In the last year?
Around the time where they were getting ready to do the women's North American championship, when they were getting ready for that show at the UFC Apex, she was right. She was right in the mix there. That's what
I thought.
She was in that ladder match. But she's proving herself, not to say that she's a bad wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. She can go in there and she can give you a match. But she's showing herself as somebody that almost thrives in the stipulation match. Not necessarily just a brawl.
No, but she can do hardcore. She can do, the falls count anywhere.
Do a ladder match. I think she was in one of the Iron Survivors as well. I'm going to get that wrong probably. But just, I think, not necessarily is she going to make the belt, but she can sort of shape the title scene, and you could see other people that are there's somebody else that I'm saving for last, so I'm going to leave her out for now. But somebody like an Alba Fire back when she was known as Kaylee Ray.
Yeah.
You've been the one to tell me about Candice LeRae having her more hardcore elements in her game, in other things or whatever. So she could almost invite that. You want this title? Let's have a scrap. That kind of attitude, and she does. She brings. I wish there was a better word to use, but she brings a bit of swagger to that title reign as well.
Certainly seems that way. So
I think that would be a lot of fun. And she's somebody that never, while she was having fun doing all these different things, she never really found a spot. And there's been, as much as I hate to say it, there's been those moments of, oh yeah, they still have Mia Yim on their roster. That shouldn't be a thing.
No, it shouldn't be. It should just be like, hey, this is someone that's established and should be a name. And that's kind of been the thing. Like you said, you kind of forget about her every now and again. And it's not an intentional thing, but she kind of goes to the wayside.
Well, it happens to so many because they don't have anything to go for if they're not at the top. Exactly. I've mentioned, they're not even on my list, but I've mentioned Kaylee Ray, but that brings us to people like Isla Dawn. I've mentioned in this pod, I've mentioned Katana Chance, which brings us to Caden Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Lyra Valkyria is another one that I didn't put on the list, and they're not at the top of mind because they exactly need something like this.
Exactly.
Anyway, so Michin Mia Yim, whatever they're going with, is my number 4. And if I don't have to use any more of my alternates, I'm just going to do some more honorable mentions at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So who you got for number 5?
My number 5, last but not least, I kind of kept going back and forth between 2 here. And originally I was going to go with Cora Jade, but then I said Bia, because Priestley, she's
Blair Davenport?
Blair Davenport, yeah.
Okay.
She's got a great ability that hasn't been tapped into yet. I've seen her be able to really shine, and on other indie promotions, talents, things like that. And so far, she just really hasn't had that great chance, the ability to show herself fully. She'll have fun. She'll do some of the quirky matches, the stipulation matches, and she's a good one for the faces to foil for a heel. But I really feel like she could be so much more than that. And how do you give her a full reboot? Simple. Give her the title and let her go on a run with it. Heel, face, either which way, she could do both.
Do the hardcore Holly thing. Give her the belt and let her beat everybody.
Exactly. And she doesn't have to be the next Obafemi by any means, but she can certainly have really good competitive matches. And with that quirky, wonky, unique side of her, it really could be just both a lot of fun, but also very interesting. Plus, you and I like the spooky, kooky, crazy stuff that she's been pretty much consistently a part of.
I was really excited when it looked like they were going to be aligning her with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, because I think as a trio, at least they had an aesthetic. Unfortunately, I don't have much to contribute to this one because I know she had some coffee, in NXT, and I know she was in NXT UK long after I stopped watching. I haven't seen enough of her to have an opinion, really. So for me, her having a title run on the main roster, because they brought her up to the main roster and then they didn't really use her.
No.
For Blair specifically, I think it would be okay, throw the belt on her. I'm not super familiar. Not that I'm not super familiar. I've seen her wrestle, but I haven't seen her wrestle enough to have an opinion. So put the belt on her and let her use the belt to show me who she is.
Yeah. Let her develop a character.
I don't always like that. Like, give them the belt and see if they measure up to it after the fact. In this case, me as the viewer, I would have to do that because I don't want to say anything bad about her because I don't have anything to say.
Exactly.
In that case, so it would have to be a trial by fire situation for her in that regard.
And that's why I said Cora's established. She's previous champ. She's been, she's done a lot. As we're here now, I mean, think of how much, like you just said, not only the title could really make you, and there's so much, it just, or Blair, I got to keep going with a new name. But it just, I really feel
I did the same thing with Kaylee Ray. So.
Yes. And I see this being a really big opportunity for her to be like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of, these are the matches that you don't see me do week to week, but this is what you've been missing out on. And to have a bit of that character in there as well. You get that little bit of everything. So I think she would be an excellent choice, and is someone that needs it, wants it, and could also build someone else in the future as well. Because then whoever beats her, obviously, gets a certain great rub for it after a while, too. And especially if they make her look really dominant, in a time where they have to go ahead and pull up, you're looking for certain people for certain things, a la War Games and whatnot, she'd be a great one to add, too. Because it looks like we're getting the Judgment Day female Civil War to happen. So,
and it's going. I think as we're you more so when you're mentioning the women higher up in the roster, what we're really underlining, and what I meant to mention at the beginning as well, is just as important as the first champion is the second champion.
Yes.
Because the first champion is the first person to ever hold that belt. The second champion is the first person to beat somebody for that belt. Like,
exactly.
When you're going for it, like, even if you do a tournament, because a tournament's nice and easy, right? But, like, it's two people equally reaching for the belt, equally reaching for that prize. The second person to hold the title, Fallon Henley, right now, is the first person to take that belt out of somebody else's hands.
Yeah, Kalani, got beat.
So I think what's getting lost in the shuffle is the first champion, the inaugural champion, the establishing champion, whatever you want to call it, Seth Rollins for the current iteration of the world title.
Yeah. Think about him getting beat, and how that changed for things with Damian Priest after Drew won from Seth. It was like, oh my God, we got a new champion.
Well, if it didn't mean something to Seth, if it wasn't an obsession of Drew's, if there wasn't CM Punk wanting to be in the mix even though he was injured at WrestleMania, if all those people weren't crawling for that title, Damian Priest with his Money in the Bank briefcase snatching it out of all their hands wouldn't have been as meaningful.
No, certainly not.
It's a cool,
it would have just been very
on his own cool moment for him. Glad to see the guy reach the mountaintop.
Yeah,
but you're snatching it out of the hands of Seth Rollins, who was trying to establish it, Drew McIntyre, who was obsessed with it, and CM Punk, who was literally ripped out of the title scene by injury. Like,
exactly, and we know that
something is measured by how many people want it. I know that sounds super simple, but
no, but it's true. In the Mania feuds, as you mentioned, they really do. It all coincided with things together. So to have that not really elevate anyone, it would be almost impossible.
Oh yeah. So my number 5, or should I say my number 1? Because
your number one.
This is my highest recommendation. With all due respect to everybody else we've already talked about tonight. Is something selfish for me, something personal for me, because I like hardcore wrestling.
Yes.
I also like horror movies.
Okay.
I also like NXT.
Yes.
I also like Destiny. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. So put the goddamn title on Shotzi Blackheart.
Yes, I was shocked. I thought you would have said that a while back. That was
Well,
one
this is
that
my
I was
number
thinking
one.
about. Yeah,
This is my number one.
I now knowing that you're going 5-1, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense because I was really surprised I didn't hear her name sooner with you, and I was like, maybe he. But yeah, it makes sense as your number one because Shotzi, my God, she's had some really great moments. She's had some really fun things happen, but then that was kind of it. You know, she had the
so
stuff with
fun.
the tank, and
She's like, and
I've been watching her with Scarlett, who drove, you know, and they've been doing the YouTube series now where they have their own
I
channel.
gotta catch up on that.
It's a lot of fun. They were messing around with the Ouija board, going to haunted places, all this stuff.
She also has her own YouTube channel that's also about horror stuff.
Yes. Yeah, her and Scarlett have their own as well now. So they have their. She has
No. I'm saying like separate.
Yeah, separate from WWE.
No, separate from the Scarlett stuff. She has her own. Like if you can look up just Shotzi Blackheart.
Yep.
And do some other things too. On a side note, anybody out there that watches the podcast or listens to the podcast Normal World, Angela from Normal World also has a horror movie related YouTube channel. It's called Angela Does Horror. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but sideline recommendation from your buddy Spaz there. But like, here's the thing, and we talk every time we talk about the women's division, especially in NXT, but it goes across the board. We do get into those themes of like representation and people wanting to be seen and people wanting to be heard and all that kind of thing. Shotzi is so different. She's so leaning into that like alternative girl mindset. She's got that. I keep quoting it, but it's true. The interview she did years ago with Lillian Garcia, when Lillian Garcia said, other than a title, what's your main goal? Like now that you're in WWE, she says, I want to bring hardcore wrestling to the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
And she's done it in the little bits that she's been able to do it. Obviously, she's been injured and often doing other things.
Yeah.
She's so damn fun as a character. She exudes so much excitement.
Charisma, confidence, all of it.
Like if for anybody out there that has a doubt about the mid-card title, she's the kind of character, the kind of wrestler that would make you excited about it. And you know, I hate comparing people because everybody, especially somebody like Shotzi, really is her own person.
Yeah.
But the only way I can really explain what I mean here is Shotzi Blackheart has the potential to be a Rhea Ripley for the mid-card.
Yeah, she really does.
Like she's not the big Jack powerhouse, but she's the big personality. She's that remember when Paige first became popular and like why
anti-diva. Yeah,
why did we like Paige? Because she's not a Barbie doll. Well,
exactly.
Shotzi Blackheart's about as far away from a Barbie doll as you can. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Barbie doll either.
No, but we had 100 Tiffany Strattons and we were like, all right. So that's what makes it good to have
they weren't all as
Stratton
good.
now.
They weren't all as good as Tiffany Stratton. Let's be real.
No, certainly not.
Some of them were. If you got hired to be because you were a supermodel and maybe we're going to teach you how to wrestle, versus hey, you can wrestle like a fucking champ. You just also happen to look like a supermodel.
Exactly. Like Maria, I've always been a fan of hers, but she was never a good wrestler. She tried.
And you know what, though?
She was a great manager.
I hate to say it, though. Maria was a diva in the Divas era. So as limited as it was, she was right there at the right time doing the exact thing that the time needed her to do. And it's unfortunate, but it's also kind of like puzzle pieces coming together.
Yeah, certainly.
It's why, on a tangent now, it's why I'm way more patient at the Royal Rumble with nostalgia type people coming into the women's Royal Rumble than the men's. Because if you're Diesel or Booker T or whoever, you were probably in a Royal Rumble in your day.
Yeah.
The ladies that are coming back for the Rumble now didn't have a Rumble.
No,
so
exactly.
That's why, like, and it's not. I'm not all up on my woke pulpit all of a sudden, but I'm just saying shit that's true.
Like, no, you really are.
But Maria at the time, she was what WWE wanted her to be at the time, and she did it. And
she did it great.
She did it with a smile on her face, and she was all bubbly and happy and delightful. Now you get somebody like a Shotzi Blackheart who's gonna ride out on a tank with a chainsaw on, and she's still gonna have that same bubbly, happy smile on her face.
Exactly. And Maria may not have always been the best, in ring or whatever, but like you said, you always knew that she was having fun and that she tried.
Yep.
And that's what you get from Shotzi, that feeling of like, oh, no matter what, she puts in the effort, she puts in the attempt, and that's what she's going to do. She's going to work, and that's all there is to it.
And she wrestled at Destiny, I met her, and she's a fucking sweetheart for whatever that's worth. So I want good things for her.
But that's a big thing. That really is, because
I met Simon Miller. Did I mention that?
I know. How awesome is that? He was just on Chris Van Vliet that I sent you. I didn't get to listen to it yet, but
I've listened to about half of it. I don't think Simon Miller is going to be the first ever WWE Women's United States champion, though. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
You don't know what happens. I mean, anything is possible at this point.
Why?
So.
Here's why. Okay, so that's my last actual person. One of my alternates was Jade Cargill, because you took Dakota Kai off of my list. I'm just going to say it for what it's worth. My other two alternates are, in fact, Tiffany Stratton, along with Candice LeRae.
Oh, wow. See, so I had Tiffany Stratton as one, and I said she's got the Money in the Bank briefcase, but how cool would it be if she cashed in and won that on that, with the story with her going with Nia right now and trying not to, like, upset her. Everyone thinks she's going to turn on Nia. What if they both have a title? You know, that kind of thing. So,
what if, okay, other side of that coin, what if they establish this United States Championship and it turns her attention that somebody with the Money in the Bank briefcase sees that new title as something so valuable that she cashes in on the United States Championship instead?
Yeah, certainly.
Because they did it one time. I mean, it wasn't done very well, but didn't Austin Theory try to cash in for the IC title? US
I thought it was a U.S. title.
Yeah. I mean, if they had not taken his Money in the Bank away, Otis and Tucker could have cashed in for the tag titles, but they never went that way.
No, which would have been a lot of fun.
They lost it to Miz in court.
Yeah, it was the most ridiculous. Yeah, that was so asinine. And I know it was the COVID era of things, and they didn't know what to do. Yeah. Like, they even tried to make the Money in the Bank fun by having them go all the way through WWE headquarters. I love that idea.
I like that. Honestly, like, you knew it wasn't.
That was so ingenious.
You knew it wasn't going to be a regular thing. They like, what is it, like 6 men, 6 women? So 12 wrestlers got together with a bunch of cameos and just did some comedy, and it was funny. And Stephanie McMahon was definitely in the office, except she definitely wasn't in the office.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Back in the day, can you imagine how quickly they would put the women's U.S. title on, like, Stephanie McMahon?
Oh, I know. So quick. I mean, she was the world champ, so think what they'd do there.
Yeah. You know what else I thought of? You know what else I thought of?
What's that?
And it's not on my list because I wasn't really thinking about it, because I see her as an NXT person more than anything else. There's one more free agent that WWE might be picking up as we go into next year, as we go into January 2025 and whatever.
Oh, yes.
Would the U.S. title be an interesting way to introduce Jordynne Grace?
Ooh. Yeah, that could be great. I mean, you can even have her be a surprise entrant or something along those lines, and she just, comes out big surprise to grab the title. And we've seen her do the whole beat everybody and run thing, but they did let, eventually somebody get put over, and it worked out great for Masha because you've had all this history, all this build-up, but now, I mean, it really put her on a pedestal. So, yeah, Jordynne would be another great choice.
Like, I'm really selfish right now because for so long I was saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we got Jordynne Grace? Now that we've pretty much got Jordynne Grace, I kind of want Masha.
Right? Imagine Jordynne goes to AEW.
Why? Why would you do that?
Right?
The only way I accept that is if she goes for their mid-card title and rips Sasha Banks' head off.
That I'll take. Okay, yeah. And then comes back with it.
Can you imagine Sasha's botchy ass trying to sell the friggin' Juggernaut driver?
Oh, yeah.
God
she would look like
damn.
A friggin', life-size Barbie getting snapped in half.
She'll go all Scorpion like that. Remember that one... the one Monday Night Raw, like, ages ago, when I think it was Lita and Trish Stratus, and they were the first women to ever main event Raw. And Lita went for that dive, and she basically scorpioned herself.
Yeah,
when she
screwed her neck up.
And see, that was accidental. Sasha would probably do that on purpose and call it, something. Anyways, We're not talking about Sasha Banks. We're talking about good wrestling here.
Yeah, the only other person I had on my alternates was Cora Jade. And, I mean, she's pretty well established at this point. So it's not like it's a huge deal for her not to have it, but I certainly think she could have added to it, especially with Roxanne as the champion. So her and Cora being the power duo
Yeah.
That little power trip, that could be interesting. While they both have to be, so you have Stephanie and Julia dethrone them both on the same night, kind of thing.
Ooh.
You know, that could be a lot of fun, but it depends on what they really do with this title. I mean,
can you imagine? Okay, because I kind of said if we're gonna do this U.S. title on the main roster, maybe put the tag titles back in NXT for a bit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine we walk out of an NXT pay-per-view in 2025, and the NXT champion is Julia, the North American champion is Stephanie Vacour, and the women's tag champions are like Zarya and Jordan Grace.
Right.
Everybody else is dead.
Yeah. Screwed for it.
Everybody else is dead.
Toast.
It's like when the rumors were going around that the women's War Games match this year could be NXT. Just take the match that they did in the ECW arena and put it in a cage.
Exactly.
Like it's ready-made.
That's the thing. A lot of these things are perfectly ready-made. These feuds are just like instantly ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it
it's
so
insane.
freaking great.
It's one of those things, and it's why I sort of shied away from a lot of the main event people. Like it's, I mean, you mentioned Charlotte. Charlotte's an obvious one. I mentioned Asuka's coming back from injury soon. Becky's probably coming back.
Yeah.
The top of the card is already richly established. Rhea Ripley, I'm sorry, of all these women that we've talked about tonight, and I love them all, and they're all fucking superstars, Rhea Ripley is the queen of the castle.
Yes.
Right now. She really is.
It's her top of the game.
Imagine how much conversation we've had about the WWE women's division here in this pod, and this is just the mid-card. Good time to be a wrestling fan. Good time to be a women's wrestling fan. And I mention it a lot. NXT's women's division is the driving force in women's pro wrestling in North America right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It can't help but spill over onto Raw and SmackDown sooner than later. And it's why we're getting these belts now.
Yeah.
With the rumor of both shows going to 3 hours in January, you can't tell me that they're not going to do an IC title in January.
Yeah, it really feels that way, you know?
And by the time we get there, there won't be a question of whether we need it or not. Because I think there's going to be a big... I think they're going to do a big shift just before the Rumble rather than a bunch of surprises at the Rumble, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think they're going to do before and after instead of having a lot of surprises. Like you said, they may have some callbacks, but, you know, some legends return and whatnot. But I don't see them going ahead and really having, like, major debuts or anything for the Rumble. Maybe some call-ups, but I think most of it is just kind of going to be you get what you get.
Well, I think what they run into at the Rumble as well is if somebody comes from NXT, we never know really how to take it. Is this oh my god? Is this them finally joining
being called up? Yeah.
Is this them being called up, or is this them representing NXT?
Exactly.
Like I think they're trying to. I think they would do themselves a favor to do a couple of call-ups before the Rumble, so that we can be excited for those people on the night. And 2025, we're getting rid of Def Rebel. Can we please get some individual and distinct intro music so we know who's coming down so they can get the proper pops?
Yeah, no kidding. Because, like you mentioned before, all the women's songs sound exactly the same.
Yeah, I will say we got Stephanie's is pretty good. Julia's is pretty good. At this point, I would say talk to whoever you need to talk to at TNA so that Jordan Grace can keep hers because I like hers.
Yeah.
They're getting better, but it's still going to be I think I know whose song that is. Look at the Tron really quick.
Yeah, because we went from the era of, like, everyone's got to have a custom song, everyone's going to have their own stuff, and then we kind of switched out, and it became everyone's going to license music, you know, they're all going to be Edge, Metalingus, and, you know, everybody had their own Disturbed, and, you know, that kind of idea. Everybody, you know, bought tracks for a while.
And see, again, it's
one
of those things where I don't think either way is entirely the answer. Do a good mix of both. Like, no famous artist did the Austin music, but everybody knows the Austin music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Disturbed did later, but yeah, I get your point. Yeah. Jim Johnson, you know, all those themes, The Undertaker, The Rock.
Get Jim Johnson back.
Yeah, you knew what wrestler it was by the very first note most times. Yeah. I mean, the Brood theme is still one of my all-time favorites just as a song.
Brood themes. banger.
I still love when New Day came out to that as the Halloween street fight.
And they're two characters played by the same guy, but Mordecai and Kevin Thorne.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, granted, they're both characters that we would like, but both of them had really cool entrances because those types of characters had to be so like elemental.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Brood theme was awesome, just coming up through all the fire.
It was always badass. Fire's blood. Loved it all. So it really always came down to, all right, this sucks. You know, we've got some good things here, but it's kind of crash course. Now it's like, oh, forget it. You know,
and there's a couple people I want to
backtrack.
Anything. Like everybody involved in the Judgment. We're going way off pace now, but that's okay. But everybody in the Judgment Day needs to go back to their old NXT music. Priest needs to go back to his old NXT music. Balor needs to go back to the Prince music.
He needs it bad.
Rhea Ripley needs to go back to the original version of Brutality, even though I'm pretty sure she's gone on record saying she likes this version better. But
yeah, because it's her favorite band, Motion White.
But whoever did it
previously,
it was also good. And anyway.
Yeah, they had what's her name on guitar.
Yes. Now we need to bring back. We need to save Ember Moon from ROH and bring back Lizzie Hale to sing her live to the ring every week because
Lizzie Hale,
selfish.
That's what it was. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. It's about time we wind up because I'm getting tired and I'm losing my voice, and I'm pretty sure you have to go soon anyways.
Yes,
so tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter. That's right, the X, the Everything app. You can find me there at Countdown Ended. Go ahead, send me a message. I can now reply. And then you can go ahead and find me live every now and again with the one, the only Spaz Phoenix right here. You know, so make sure you hit like and subscribe down below to hear more from us on the state of wrestling. And come watch us live on my YouTube channel, J Countdown Ended DeMarco.
Yes. And keep an eye on my audio streams, not YouTube, but Spotify, iTunes, etc. I've put up the last 4 live streams that Jake and I did. I believe they are the NXT in Chicago, the NXT in St. Louis,
yes.
Our reactions to Halloween Havoc, Bound for Glory, and the 2300 show. So those are all available now. If you want to join us live, as we've said, I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep plugging the hell out of it. Go over to Jake's channel, subscribe to him. That's where the live shows are happening. If you can't catch us there, catch the repeats over on the audio side. And you guys know where to find me or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Super Sexy Jake DeMarco. This has not been the state of wrestling. This has been us talking about the future of the WWE Women's United States Championship division, I think. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.